Hello everyone, my name is Vikash and I'm creating this short video so that you can get a better grasp of the DNS hosting project that is posted at Upwork. Now to start with, we're gonna go to https://www.flymail.com, and then we're gonna click on my account. And looks like I'm already logged in. Let's start over. We're gonna go to https://flymail.com. I'm gonna click on my account. I'll provide these credentials, so you'll have those. And you're gonna click on select web hosting. And you're gonna click on login. Again, we're back at the same page. But for this task, we want to navigate from web hosting to other services to DNS hosting. And then we're going to click on sign up right here. So for this task, we want to complete the 4-step purchase process. But most of this should already be coded elsewhere, and it's just a matter of having it function over here. I'll show you that it's already, some of the code's already functional there. So if you look at this page, it's the DNS_hosting_sign_up.php. This is the page that we want to start with. I had this page created a while back, and the person that created it forgot the more link right here. There should be a link over a hyperlink over here that says more. And so basically, when a user enters a domain name, selects a TLD, clicks more, another box just like this would end up right beneath this one, and the more link would remain under the lowest box. So essentially, a user could enter multiple domains and continue to enter as many domains as he or she wanted, and then click next. So so that's one of the steps. Let me show you exactly where to get that more link, or how it should appear. Now if we go to the files themselves, let's see, it goes to web hosting, and you can see where I am right here. I'm at web hosting. If you go to other services, you see over here there's a PSD file. That's a Photoshop file. So the person that actually programmed the DNS hosting signup.php page converted it from the PSD, but they just forgot to bring over the more link. So if you open up this PSD in Photoshop, more than likely you should be able to grab the more link from there. But I've also placed a JPEG over here, so if you double click on this JPEG, it's hard to see over here. Let me maximize the screen. You see there's a little tiny more link, so if you enter a domain over here and click on more, then another box would appear, then you could continue clicking on more. Obviously this is not functional as it is a JPEG, but that's for demonstration purposes only. But it should look just like this. It's a blue more hyperlink. So that's one of the tasks on this page that I need completed. The second task is I need all of the TLDs. As you see, there's a .com, a .net, but there's a vast amount of these guys are not there. So if you look at, let me just open up enom.com. So basically, I am selling DNS hosting to my users through enom. I'm a reseller. So if you open up enom.com, you'll see under resellers, you'll see a manage, and a pricing editor. I just want to show you all the TLDs that exist. See here, right here, I'm in under domain pricing. You see the TLDs. I would want every one of these TLDs to appear. You see all these TLDs, .tube. All of these TLDs should appear right here, and that should happen through the use of the API. You should not just enter them into a list and then have it populate. Rather, you should use the API to have it populate the entire list of TLDs. And you can see the API is right here, API catalog, right under resellers. And there's an alphabetical list of commands, every single list of command out there. But your focus is going to be on the value-added service called DNS hosting. So as you can see over here, the DNS hosting, and it shows you the type of commands you would use to add DNS hosting and the parameters, the required parameters and the optional parameters. Now, one thing I want to mention over here is we are not using the credit card processing system of Enum. Rather, we're using Plug and Pay, and you will already see one important thing for me to mention is, like, let me demonstrate. I've entered a domain. I'm clicking on next step. See, it jumped over step 2. Step 2 is grayed out because I'm already logged in. There's no reason to sign in again. On this add-ons page, it's already completed, so there's nothing to do even on this add-on page. What you want to do is, after you click on next step, it's supposed to go to step 4, but it doesn't. Now, how are you going to know what goes under step 4 and the make payment process? Well, that's easy. If you go under web hosting, Linux hosting, there is you can click on any one of these sign up buttons right here, and there's a 4-step process. See? Extremely similar. The great part about this one is it works. So if you enter the information over here and continue over here, you will see exactly how step 3, step 4 is supposed to take place. Because under the DNS hosting, I've shown you a couple of things that are required under step 1 of the DNS hosting sign up. Step 2 and step 3 are pretty much the same, so there's nothing to do there. Step 4 is when you would copy a lot of the code from here to the DNS hosting files. And the make payment process works as well over here, so it's just a matter of copying that information over. So there are two services, 2 products or services that function perfectly right now as far as the 4-step process is concerned. So one, I've just shown you Linux hosting, and another one, if you go under web hosting, go under my dashboard and click on my web hosting, there's a upgrade button right here. So if you click on the upgrade button, you will see a 4-step process, and I prefer this one for you to check the code under. You don't necessarily need to bother with the code as far as making these functions work, but if you go into step 3 and step 4, if you go past, let me just go past, let's put a 2 there. So if you go to step 3 right here, the add-ons, that you're just going to click on next step. You see how it goes to step 4, and there's a shopping cart. There should be a pre-configuration button over here. These products don't require pre-configuration, but DNS hosting may require pre-configuration, and if it does, you would have to code those pre-configuration boxes, circles as well, which is just a matter of allowing the user to enter a few fields that are required. But for the most part, you should be able to leverage the code that is under Linux hosting or under my web hosting, the upgrade web hosting right here, upgrade web hosting. And I'll show you those files. Let me go ahead and show you those files while I'm talking about that. So if you go under, in this directory, web hosting directory, you will see right here Linux web hosting sign up right here. That's the first of the file. Here's the pre-configuration file I was talking about, referring to earlier. That's the second one. There's the third one, step 2, step 3, step 4, and the step 4a. So those are the files that you would focus on. One, that's step 4a, step 4, step 3, step 2, the pre-configuration, and then the sign up. So 6 files. You can see it clearly if you go under other services. Well, not under other services, I meant web hosting my dashboard. The upgrade files, they're right next to each other. So if you look over here, the upgrade web hosting pre-configuration, the web hosting step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 4a. So if you focus on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 files, and if you check the code within these files, it should allow you to easily set up the purchase process, because the purchase process is essentially the same, besides the part about when you initially set this up. When you set up page 1, you have to set it up for the product DNS hosting. Now let me show you one other thing. There's a products table here under the try database. So in that products table, you have DNS hosting right here as one of the products. You see the API name right there? So you may have to use one of these numbers. So when I'm saying the purchase process is essentially the same across different products, you're just using different IDs. You want to make sure when you set up the DNS hosting purchase process that you're purchasing the product for DNS hosting. So number 12 in this, I think it was 12. Number 12 right here. Well, it says 13 over here, so I don't know which one you would use, but you would just basically check how the upgrade web hosting is set up, how the web hosting is set up, and pretty much mimic the purchase process based on that. However, the parameters are different over here. You'd find that there are some different parameters over here, so you will have to account for that. And also, there is a possibility that did I have it open? There it goes. There's not a DNS hosting table here. So when you set up the purchase process and you find that you may need a DNS hosting table, separate table, you could possibly use this domain add-ons table. But I don't know if these fields allow you to capture everything, all the parameters that you need to capture for the purchase process over here for DNS hosting. Because you would want a table that captures all the required fields at the very least. Because since they're required, and you'll be inserting information into that. Inserting information, editing that information, and that sort of thing. But for right now, you just want to focus on the purchase process. So just keep that in mind. If you look in the products table, that's a very important table. Allows you to see the products. So, and the other thing is you may need to add a DNS hosting table. Now, aside from that, let me see if I can if there's anything else I could show you that could make this task easier. Now, if you go to Resellers API Catalog, you will see over here there's an alphabetical list of commands. That's very helpful as well. I like to go in here, like if I wanted to search for the word renew, I would just search over here, renew, and then you could just keep on going like this, and you could find all the API commands that have renew in them, for example. And I just believe that's helpful when you're working on API, even though the best thing to do is go directly to DNS hosting and then focus on this initially. And I think that's all. So to recap, we're basically, this task involves setting up the 4-step process for DNS hosting. Step 1, there's a little work to do here. Add in a more link right here so the user can enter multiple domains, so they can purchase DNS hosting for multiple domains. And over here we should have the full list of TLDs available through Enum, through the API. When you click on next, you'll navigate through these. Nothing to do here. Step 4, you want to mimic the Linux hosting, or I prefer to go to upgrade web hosting, because I think that this process will show you exactly how some of the API is done over here as well. So I think this one could prove more helpful. But I would suggest just looking at both the Linux hosting, and also the my web hosting, the upgrade web hosting. And then if you go through all 4 of these steps, it allows you to purchase the product. And one last thing about this task. So as you've seen so far, the only thing to do for this task so far is the more link over here, allow for multiple domains, the full list of TLDs here, and then from step 3 to 4, copy or mimic the checkout process for Linux hosting or the upgrade web hosting. It should be extremely similar. And the last step for this task is to go into my dashboard. So when you purchase DNS hosting, what I want to happen here is, you see a little dotted line right here? Well, these 3 I want to remain here regardless of the counts. This shows there's 2 web hosting accounts, 1 domain for this user, Vikash. So, and 0 over here. So that's fine. This works just fine. Over here, you see all these zeros, and you see how it's all over the place over here. The only products I want shown over here under this dotted line are the ones that have accounts of 1 or greater. So when DNS hosting, if we purchase DNS hosting, I want DNS hosting to be right here on the top. All of these others should disappear. Should never be there in the first place. Only the ones that have a 1 or greater should appear over here, because we're in the web hosting dashboard. And that's why I have my web hosting on top. My domains is very important as well, since we have this category. And SSL, again, is very important as well. That's why I want all 3 of these products to remain over here above the dotted line. But under the dotted line, I only want to see products that have been purchased, that have a 1 or greater. So this, whenever the DNS hosting is purchased, I want to be able to see a 1 over here, and I don't want to see any of these others there. So that's the other part of the task, but you can pretty much, again, leverage the code from this area right here to set the ones. You may have to set if-then statement, if-then else, or to make sure that only the ones that have products purchased show up here. And it should never climb over this box. This box should expand. So if there are products that, if let's say we had about 7 products over here that were purchased, this yellow box should just get longer. All of this information should remain within the box. I hope that makes sense. Alright, well, that's pretty much it. I believe I've covered everything for this task. If you have any questions, feel free to message me at Upwork. Thank you very much. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks again. Bye-bye.